Sanjin Chedan Zoje Junala Shanju Bado Dani Josi Agi Shishi Jive Sonam Jin Dola Bin Sanjin Jubare Shu Sanjin Chedan Zoje Junala Shanju Bado Dani Josi Agi Shishi Jive Sonam Jin Dola Bin Sanjin Zhuge Shu, Sanjin Chedan Zuje Shunang, Shanju Pardo Dani Jasunji, Dagi Chushi Jive Sonam Ji, Rolai Pinji Sanjin Zhuge Shu. That's all. Any Tare Naji, young Gulu number Tawas. San Tap Manangata, Yambe Stemjen Tamji, Dongi, Junje, Yinda Chene, Tanyon la Nebatang, Lapper the Lan, Chanjugi Simrimuchin, Jula Jayatang. Ani Yang Tabe Tawa, Chinji Malo, De Jula Jene, Dinin Kale Kalena, Tini Montun Jurwe, Nicola, Sanjinji Kumbaramuchi, Indu, and De Tamji. Simjen 탐지 줄라 총화쇼 쟁 아니 동만타 독지 만남 자 전부 직대 체들라 안 맞지 드린 롤링 더 되니 최주 속에 나라나
Nasana. So please begin as we did this morning by establishing a completely pure motivation. Please give rise to that motivation that is oriented towards all mother sentient beings, completely limitless like space, a motivation that sees all of their suffering and the causality involved in their suffering, motivation that wishes to develop the totally authentic view, which has no distortion, compassion, and the aspiration of bodhicitta, which yields perfect enlightenment for the sake of all those sentient beings, to liberate them from suffering. And so please generate that kind of motivation, and in that spirit, let us continue our discussion.
그런데 가디나 개친 보인서로 소소 자와 가르지나 깨직 대가랑 아니 당에 자와 가르이나 내가 레바이나 곰자와이나 아니 간데 개저 때문에 손에 안 됩니다. 자와 가르지나 되네 소소 최대 자와 가르지나 네 최대 야고치야다 자와 강 지와디 심전 탐지 편바다 대회 치더라. 다이비 심전 탐지라 편바다 대화 지게 치더라 책이 데리체도 용가쇼 가시 페마도 나가 네 나면 맞지야쇼 심지 수지랑가 네바 맞지야쇼 데니 네바 제나 랑기 룰라 펠는 제나 네바 맞지 앙 송도와 네바 제나 아니 동행 카레요메 서로와 옌지기랑라 네바 제바이나 다랑라 맞지와 동행 강 여바데 아니 제나 다랑 여바 송자 대랑 찍보기 겐기와 맞지 옌라양 겐기 제바이나 데니 수수기 셈데 칼레칼레라 셈데 자침보 안에 셈데 장보 안에 셈데 상보 칼레기 아주 좋았다야 탑 정말 친구도
That's right. So everything that we do requires motivation. We need to examine our motivation for everything, all the time, just for brief moments, any kind of activity, whether we're talking about spiritual activity, a session of meditation, or, reciting mantra, any kind of spiritual activity, or any kind of ordinary activity, whatever we're doing, engaging in business, doing our day-to-day life. Always we should bring this kind of altruistic motivation into everything, even if we're just looking after our health, even if we're just taking care of ourselves. We can bring that motivation. I'm looking after my health, may the suffering of all sentient beings be eliminated through this action, through any action that I do, and result in our final freedom and enlightenment. So, we generate that. May it happen. May this become a seed for that result. And if not, if we cannot generate a motivation like that, then at least we can have the intention not to harm anyone, not to bring any harm to anyone. Even if harm is done to us, not to return it. Even if someone else acts badly and makes us suffer, we don't act badly back. Try to make them suffer back. So basically, we are not just concerned with our own well-being. We're not just taking responsibility for ourselves, but we're actually trying to shoulder responsibility for others. So then slowly, that kind of mind training, it makes our mind very, very vast, very, very honest, virtuous. And so we have to employ different methods to change the mind, to transform the mind. We really need to do that.
Yeah, so then 단어 가서 쉬와 나지 다 류지 류라야기 되는지 니지 대당 셈 라야기 니지 되는데 지대서 가요 되지 또
And so as we were discussing this morning, we were looking into the kind of situation of the body. There's also the situation of the mind. And these are two different things.
다 류락바니 삼단두 아주 통슈라데 지샤 바발라 소바티니 통양지다 참모니 통영두 아니 끼지라 되니 저도아 되니지 룽기 요아 점 되니 가져로다 두ten 참에 아니 그 된제 직하니 조 number try number t number roy number reksha number di samalo number shut there de kali la tabru dodi ngo meba yang pat de mene maimba yang de kale 가지고서 kale devaina ansama yang rak de peretina ngaso zamling 장릉번에 미셰 가르쳐 정시 따용을 zamling di koke medoa 메비서를 들어와 된 칼레지 짜용도 아니 다는 소소소 작업소소 메모 가르쳐로 다 디노 락바 수 짜용도 야 락바 디파 딱지시디 차르라니 zamling 잉 코라나라 파식 드전 참에 파식 죽도와 제장다 수표 내추 왜 내추된 것도 통고도
So we were discussing the nature of the body. And so what we can see normally is the aspects of the coarse physical body, you know, flesh and skin and bones and organs and things like that. And then that's kind of the coarse aspect of our physicality. And then there's also the very subtle. So we go into the subtle dimension of the body. We start to arrive at momentary change. Everything just constantly changing every single moment. It's really just like the movement of energy, lung. And then finally, we reach the point of like a, you know, kind of indivisible particles, subatomic particles. So this is actually, you know, there's the appearance, you know, just the mere appearance of a form, the mere appearance of sound, the aspect of a smell and taste and touch, these fundamental aspects. And so if we go subtler and subtler into these experiences of sense objects, and we look for their essence, what is their actual essence? It's like, it's not there. But although it's not there, it's also not nothingness. It's not just a void. So another example is sort of like if we're looking at the earth from very far away, very, very far away, you know, at first it would be like invisible almost. We wouldn't be able to even see it in the expanse of space. Then if we zoom in more and more, we start to be able to see the earth as a sphere. And then we zoom in more, we start to be able to see continents and oceans and the different like rough, coarse characteristics of the earth. And then if we keep zooming in inside the earth and looking at what it is, we'll finally reach like the inner space or basic space, the dhatu of the earth. And then again, we'll reach these like subatomic particles. So actually, we really need to see what is the reality.
Then ngazo zuko de lude mebare mindo da pami kurane sonde kangdar jiba junjung gawi lu yang lo dharma gi lu lo gengu gi lu dene dela dene 서로와 상에 나속바 아니 여들와 내양 맞아 거의 니치기 냥왕기 다시 제야지로 왜 니치 통야지로
Mhm. So this body, though, the body, our body, it's not like not there at all. It's not that there just isn't anything. That's also not the case. We have a body. It began with the seed and the egg from our father and mother. And then, we had a body when we were young. And then there's the state of the body when we're middle-aged, and the state of the body when we're older. And feelings, all kinds of feelings and sensations, pleasant, unpleasant. So these things are there also. That's also how things are. That's also a certain reality.
then nang sim lanida pame kura dibala temba tsam maimba teleji jik sim la ji ni chi ti ngane ta nga su chorba dewa choba donge mandewa yi loji sheba ji yong de yoro
Mm-hmm. And then there's the situation of the inner mind, the mind inside. So this is not something that just arose sort of randomly from the seed and the egg from our father and mother. That was a condition. It provided a condition for consciousness to enter. And so it provides the conditions for a mind stream to have feelings and sensations, pleasant, unpleasant, pleasure, and pain. And so a certain consciousness, came and resides there.
then sheba telayang tara mambuchi chadigdo
And when we talk about consciousness, that also has many subtle and coarse aspects.
semjen la di sheba chadang ni zingane ji gongji ngeji cheji zara zuji zara da jeni jin rawi ngenji nayanzi yedingoro.
So when we speak about a sentient being, an embodied being, beings that take birth in the world of attachment, then they can be born in 4 different ways. It is said they can have born from an egg, born from a womb, born by virtue of heat and moisture, and also what's called a spontaneous, sort of sudden spontaneous birth.
then sem chara la sheba tela chara mambo ji ngane tenen ji ta gongye wangshi la tene and zu tra ti ro rekcha la ta ji gongye wangshi ra zo nang sim la maimba ti gongye wangshi ti sheba ti kharzorda yi ji sheba ti kala and gongye sheba wangshi ti zo ten de ba zre do
Shendagi te sina
yi ji sheba di zo che tene gongye sheba ti de mi sheba na 아니 제 라야다 지 여러와
이게 sheba tenre. Aso.
이지 쉐바라 때네 용거도 같아.
Aso. Oh yeah.
땐 제나다 조 자와파 팀줘서 건다 이 쉐발 팀줘서.
Lasso.
쇼게 양 땐나나 양 수수수 왕시 코라이 땐왕 자다 롱다다 지 여러와.
Lasso. So the mind or consciousness also has many coarse and subtle aspects. For example, we have the five senses, the five senses with their sense organs, with their consciousnesses. So, visual consciousness, auditory consciousness, olfactory or smelling consciousness, consciousness of taste, consciousness that feels sensations and textures. And then there's also what's called the mind consciousness. The mind consciousness is kind of like the support or the basis for the other sense consciousnesses. So the other five sense consciousnesses rely on the mind consciousness. And Khandro-la clarified, because it's like at night when we sleep, the other five consciousnesses dissolve into the mind consciousness. And then when we wake up in the morning, that serves as the basis for them to reappear for daytime experience.
Then, maso, 산단 레갈레 아니지 가르소로다. 치지 튠진 드즈데 고얀디 다 셰바 티줄라 튠진 고그로와. 지당 레갈 가르소로다. 마소 남주 레가 몽부치.
튠겐.
튠진.
셰바양.
야 로진보 자야당 아니 다님보 퇴야 암줄라 다님보 퇴야 고그로와. 아니 로진보 고그로와 아릭찬 잠보 고그로와 아니 티진보 고그로와 디 참마 고그레 디 야고도 트는 가서 저아직 지여로.
So then we think about like our work or our activity, what we do. There's a lot of external pleasant conditions that we want, we need nice things to look at, and nice sounds to listen to, and nice tastes and flavors, and nice things to smell. We want that, we need that. So, isn't it?
이나양 디 초르바 동에다 초르바 땡 대화 짜와디 디 지보기 소 두면도 디 지보기 초바 대화 떼두 말와.
However, those alone aren't responsible for actually the suffering and the happiness in the mind. Like those sense experiences cannot truly provide happiness.
이나야 초르바 대화 떼 마투바데 하 코아데 양절 삼노단 거도.
But to understand this understanding that they cannot provide real happiness, we need to look again at that understanding.
당아지 기부 소당저로 수포티 페주당니 소당니 베라즈는 곰 잡나 소나.
So we think about how to how we become happy, how we produce joy, and how we use our experience to produce happiness or joy. So for example, if we're meditating,
남상 가서 곰 가르스 지오래 서는 남상 수수술라 빨리 가고래 곰 세나 가리 곰.
So we might want to meditate, but if somebody says, okay, what are you going to meditate on? It might be a difficult question for us to answer. We want to meditate, but on what?
당아서 셈디 뭐네 셈디 짐바 간디스 징거.
This mind that we have, there's clinging or grasping. So how does that grasping work?
데니 수포 코란라 베 덴데샤린 두시시 폼부지 임바 하코나 징기 마레 로가 베 자치모 야메나 베 뚝자 라고 탈렌롱네 야 손다
Ta lungre or lungimare?
탈룽
Ta lungre.
야마나 야보 쇼이 야메나 베 뚝자레 로
So, for example, this body, ngazodi ani duchegi pungbo hakona yang ani yakbogina be yakbo singido ani duchegina be singido. So it's like, even if we may understand that the body is just like a compounded aggregate, just a compounded heap or aggregate, still, when things are good, we cling to them as so good. And when they're bad, they're so bad. That's how we cling.
다 ngacho 마치 것이 전년 상만 짐바들인도 짐바 상만 욕라라니 망부지 짐바
So all the different countless thoughts that we engage in, so many different thoughts about so many things, really, they all come down to clinging or grasping.
난 짐바디 가르치고 그래.
So what happened? Why is there this clinging?
셰바 마리고지 차기도. 셰바 인데발라 마리바.
So then, on the basis of our consciousness, or within our consciousness, there's the element of marikpa, or ignorance.
다 뭐이 니치 마리바.
What are we ignorant about? We're ignorant about the way things truly are.
뭐이 니치 ngang 아주 버리데 아니 다시 제바이나 아니 지 랑지 드바다 템바 드바다 베 짜침부 진도사 강형 메도아.
If we talk about the way things truly are, like if we look at our own body, the real reality is that there's no inherent existence. There's no true, tangible, concrete thing there that would be worthy of clinging to and grasping to and taking as precious. That's actually the reality of the body.
다 딘디에 셰바이나 마릭바 디기 때네 데니 추미 이시시 남도 따게도 수트 마툼비.
But being ignorant of the true nature, being ignorant of how things actually are, it's like our wisdom is out of accordance. It becomes like incorrect, inappropriate, out of harmony with the nature.
아니 되바 착바 셴바 아니 망부치 차용거로와.
And then we have desires and attachments and grasping.
아니 되바 첨부.
We become full of desire, so many wishes.
아니 랑 라디아 베 우리 니주 단계바 베 개첨부 직선당.
And then we think of ourselves like in an incorrect way that's out of alignment with the truth. We think that we ourselves are very important.
Then chila dena kang nongwante temperzi.
And then what appears to us as a outer appearance, outer phenomena, we reify that, we take that as real, as concrete and solid,
Ani tela chakpache.
and we get attached to that.
Ta tsam relade susu jibo sodang rabze yoro. Kabijila jibo sodang. Yakbo sodang.
Some yongado.
Yakbo sodang.
So then sometimes, that gives us a certain joy. It makes us feel good sometimes.
Ta gomja. Lagidoa.
So then we talk about, meditating.
Ta kang yasamna makorbache.
Just sitting there, not thinking of anything at all.
Tsukche. Mixum.
Oh, sitting with my eyes closed.
Gombi kesherda nga gomdies.
And then we think, oh, yeah, now I'm meditating.
Drazichana. Oi. Nga gomja. Semba
Somebody,
zangbo chiwi kesherda gom. Nga ta nga gomje yaochi bikeshero.
so then, somebody makes a little noise nearby, and they're like, where? Shut up. Meditating. And the thought behind that is what I'm doing is a really good thing.
아니 ngaso 대화 제당라데 때아 당지 마릭바당 랑 진진기 추베 로디기 제당 라인다 추베 로디지 제당 가득다 그러다.
But what we really should be looking at is how the self-grasping mind, the self-cherishing mind, the confused mind is happening right there. That's what we should be looking at. How is self-grasping? How is self-cherishing? How is confusion arising? That's what we should be looking at.
때는 소소기 수포 소소기 땀 소소기 돌로라 로송 램다 티당 알레 카인스 소소 같소르다 장보 야고영을 치다.
So zupo tulo.
zubo tulo.
So so then we towards our body, our clothing, our reputation, we spend a lot. We really invest a lot in that, to make ourselves great, all in service of ourselves.
Then 그 가르들 zubo데 당분에 가래 중도 가래 렌도 데 제주 땅 여말봐 당아 야부체 징도아.
But we're not looking at all into the body, what the body actually is. We're not examining that. We're not examining how the body came into existence. We're just ignoring that and just thinking, I'm doing great.
대화제당데 빽쩍 서울에다 항상.
So that way of seeking happiness is extremely funny and bizarre.
작바 추는 가기 말에 작발라야 들어와 티 가기면 너와 다 티사 이나야 빡빡만 타주 사 들어와 사야라 마가와 지금에 너 작발라 마가 지다 척하를.
So it's like nowadays, nobody wants to put on weight, but everyone loves to eat. So we love to eat, but we don't want to put on any weight. Isn't that ridiculous?
그래서 당아 작바 지라 대보민도 되나? 아니 그 용지사나? 작바 작은 말아. 답 되어라. 그 용지사인 달아.
So if we, if we feel that we're overweight and we're like uncomfortable, makes us uncomfortable, and we see how that came about, what is the source, then we could eat less.
thế nga zo 제비 주라 치바인 바 타체 차러와 제비 주라 제발이야 주라 치 성시 지난 데서 제비 주라 다 치바 줍차리 드링 제바 타랑라 산이다 드링 제바 타랑 다 캔슬 나차리 nga zo 캔슬 라이트
So once we're born, then for sure it's going to end in death, for sure. And in fact, once we're born, the causes of cancer are already established. You're born, the next day already cancer is starting to form.
아서 찐지 가티지용 가와시용 가르치용 찐 지라지기 응은에 로초조로와
based on conditions, where we're going to die, how we're going to die, when we're going to die. We don't know. Can happen at any time.
다테나지 겐로라야 돼.
And also what's called old age.
코라랑진지 영어야 들어와.
It just naturally happens, doesn't it?
동네 지구에서 개요 말이다. 코랑진래.
It's not that it's trying to make suffering. It just is that naturally the way it is.
이난 아주 할래 동네 지구 이러.
But we suffer so much over that.
누구한테 덴바르 진도라 당보?
Because we initially clung to our body as being real and solid.
되네 마게야에 치들라. 아니 동상마. 아니 오르테잡. 아니 죽진라 만라 죽 동라.
And then to prevent the appearance of aging, how many creams and ointments and oils do we rub on our faces? And we think, this will make me happy. It's like a method we use to get happiness. Then one day we actually get very old. And then we eat so many medicines. Actually, there's not really a lot of happiness in that whole thing, isn't it? Not only do they not give us all these treatments and medicines, so much more happiness, then there's all this suffering that comes as side effects.
게모지 쇼와이나 카당 게모쇼 그래라기도. 아니. 게모지 쇼와이나 하하하 라셔요. 하하 쇼 그래.
Even our way of laughing changes.
뭐도 그래서 대화지 단캔다라 내 좀만 뭐 줘요나 네 난 공천보 마모 줘는 개모길이 러브리스 고디 폴라 차도 그버라도 하디 목걸이 동네를 쇼거를
So we have all of our array of expensive ointments and creams and applications, and we put them all over our face. But then As soon as we start laughing, kind of spoils the whole thing. And then this totally unnecessary kind of suffering that we're making for ourselves.
대 랑중 빡빡대 랑중으로와 다 거야 대 랑중 추네 말봐 가시 니 이제 뭐 저나 춘레마도 랑 말봐 가시 제마 이모 저나 랑 말에 그해 주더라.
Because all of these products, they're not like natural to us. Our skin is what's natural to us. These things are not that. They're like there's a there's a fake. That's better. Yeah.
야, 최지성.
Yeah.
최성.
Even if they make you look beautiful, it's not your own body's beauty. And even if it makes your body smell nice, it's not your body that's smelling nice.
이나야 디기도 러 손다.
But still, anyway, that's okay.
zubola chen che desa zubola chen gu nanda tala chen gu nanda migla chen gu nanda kala chen gu nanda susu la da jidangi jiboyona dirowa.
So whether it's a question of like changing the color of your face or of your hair and so forth, if it makes you feel happy, then that's okay, isn't it?
이나양 디 chen 하고 그랬다.
But you should know that that color is something that you've applied. You should know that.
니하거나 아니 랑기 양자 구구로 츠이바 하고 양자 구구.
But then again and again, you have to take it off and then put it on again.
덴데 지라양 빠쳔보 지한테 that's 투바레 탱고로와 알레 데다 짜침보랑 더 말해 오케이 지당도 부구도 지나 디레가. Yes.
So then it's just that we can understand how it works, but not think that it's so important. We it's part of life. We have to take care of the body, but to think, oh, that's so important. It's so precious. And we take something ordinary and that, it's just like children's play and we give it so much importance.
그 약수 로지 인테나 대 가서 뱀메시 돌로데서 핵심 제 라그로와 다 돌로라오이나다 겐고 차차네 핵심 그나 닝제 무스케면도.
It's like, taking these kinds of things as like the best thing, similarly with fashion, with our clothes, if we think that fashion and clothing, how we dress is so important. I mean, really, in the end, it's like when we get really old, I mean, what's fashionable that we can do?
제가 그 지상 조다 게타 전부 찌게 때네 돌로 핵심 뺏게라 전부래 라나 뭐 모두 대 녀가 친다 아니 그 로게 말에 닝 소소 수보라 닝한 제워요 말에 아니 그 딱딱요 말아 죄송합니다.
So you might buy yourself clothes that are really like from well-known makes and so on. But even if you wear them when you get old, then it's like it doesn't really make you beautiful, does it? So
아니 지 범문라오라지나 그 로니슈스음주 된다로 로충용가라 진짜다나 아니 지 닝지 모르지도아 딱 겐고가라 진짜다나 에 지 랑제지 디 주도가라 팔람 닝제 요나 닝정시라 요 말어.
Yeah, so like when if a young woman, young girl puts on all sorts of like beautiful clothes and jewelry and so on, then they really do look very nice. But when somebody gets really old and then they're trying to make themselves look very nice with all kinds of jewelry and so on, it's just like if you take an elephant and cover it with jewels, it doesn't really make it look beautiful, does it?
대장 양 겐고 로라 빡베 코닝 제모 지당 소야 도와 카레나다 둘로 장마 아니 류제제야 아니 셈바쿠야양치 한다 찍여로와 딱 뜻은 상마 체제래도 너도 개체지 되래다 라고야 가래 세나 그래서 약보래 아주 지 왕부락박이 저기 죽다 체로 자치모 되지 아니 닌 딱봐 아니 가서 내가 마음을 치고야지 아니 데브디조 약보래 대 체체래 닝보여 말에 다만 동해래 디 하거나 아니 닌중제 세나 that's 좋아지도
So so the thing is, you can that there are certain there's a certain way of dressing as you get older that you can look quite nice. So that's okay. All these things, they're all okay. They're things that we need and they make you feel happy, but you need to know that there's really basically there's no essence in any of them. They're okay, but there's no essence in any of them. They're all limited.
다 가서 년중제 라야 되는데 디 코로바기 스베 분조 강의 바데 동해기 모시고도 와 동해 임바.
We need to know that all of the wonderful things in samsara just don't have true essence, don't have ultimate meaning.
다양 모시에 잠이 치면도
But it's not enough to just recognize that.
야 카츠로네 심들 따오로
We have to turn our view around and look back at the mind also.
짐바
And look at our clinging.
대참이 짐바기 젬바기 저저로
These things are all made by our clinging and our grasping.
텔라테네 지 년전에 직스 라전 직스
That makes, things like close or friendly to us. And then it also makes things into enemies.
맞아 짐바 마릭바 레데데 가지고로 장보면도 장보
Because of our clinging mixed up with our ignorance, we lose our honesty.
샘젠테저 녜베 니츠가네 아니 치 녜베 초네 찍라자 안 찍라 녜라 차바지 아니 자라 당와지.
Basically, living beings to make these divisions, between friends and enemies. They just create that. And then they get attached to their friends. And then they get angry with their enemies.
아니 녜 장바다 텔베 독비동에 독밥만 보러 와 남도 다 녜다 첸줘야지 동에 남도 마보샤 아니 양자 당원다 체이베 독비동에 아니 되바 아니 독도 메케비 동에 아니 만되바 독도 밥이 동에 들리지 인간에 아주 저들어.
So We have a lot of suffering, worrying about our friends, those that are close to us, through thoughts of attachment, getting attached to them causes a lot of suffering. And similarly, to those that we don't like, our enemies, a lot of suffering that comes from anger and aversion and hatred towards those we don't like, towards our enemies. And, there's the suffering of not getting what we want and the suffering of getting what we don't want. So we live with all of that.
네, 덴드기 캬당잉알라 다 내가 몸부시우스 차를.
And then within all of this attachment and aversion, we do a lot of work.
아주 내가 뭐 유디 동이 만들었다 대반되어들어.
And the aim, the goal of our work is to get some kind of happiness and to not suffer.
네, 추연라고 찍다. 태와 이나 아주 베르지나 다 물람이하고 지잡나? 그래?
For example, we meet with, if we meet with the Dharma. So, for example, we make like a really good aspiration.
되나 지준라마 툭지진 라기도 되나 지준라마 툭지진 된디식 사지무들이래.
So, like for example, great, glorious Lama, look at me with compassion, some kind of.
되나 지준라마 툭지진 만준로이 동행 틱틱귀 다다 달미야 쇼송네. 틱텐데 동네 틱사지무들이래.
That's so.
Yeah, it's this is the verse about taking and giving in the Guru Puja, and so that verse says, therefore, glorious glorious kind gurus, bless me to be able to take on all of the suffering of the mother sentient beings and to give them all of my happiness right now.
하나 칙디 짜첨보기 안에 잔주기 셈다. 안에 돈이 따와로 친지 말로 왔다. 친지 말로 왜 따와다. 안에 옌 진지 잔주기 셈 짜첨보 연조지 송조로.
Oh, these words, these are precious words that involve, that these words contain the authentic, uncorrupted view. Also, the real motivation of bodhicitta, real altruism, they're contained within these words.
갑도 마 되면 잠시 빼고 차기도.
So then, for a moment, as we're reciting those words, we get very happy.
이나양 소송어에 니줄라. 작바차 쭈떼스 작바차도 올라나? 와트 라기도. 벨롱랑 살롱랑 작바차 롱랑이 지기 만주 로베 동에 칸디스 쿠테 그러다.
But then, if right after the prayer, some other time, somebody just says a tiny little thing to us, like, you've put on some weight, and immediately we'd be angry. So if we can't even handle someone telling us we've put on a couple of pounds, how are we going to take all the suffering of all sentient beings?
때 람사 티카레 슬람나? 오 지바 랑기 짐바 심 너드지 친지로 라야디 디리 되는 것이고도.
So as soon as we feel that feeling, we should know that that's clinging. That's clinging, taking things incorrectly, inappropriately. That's clinging to the self right there.
다 검잡 nga 검자 로기 때 야고 총송 검자이 때네 nga 장 nga 때 마부 장이.
So then we might say, I'm going to go meditate. I'm going to do a very nice meditation. I'm going to say some mantras. I'm going to say a lot of mantras.
다리 검래.
What what meditation?
소소소소함다나.
We think about ourselves.
아, 내가 마무자.
I'm going to say a lot of mantra.
가르페레.
What's
가르.
what's the benefit? What's it going to do to the mind?
아, tingilama pe 메시지 아침고. pe 메시지는 좋아. 아침고 좋아. pe 아침고 쉬어래서 네 만자나 직전에 내가 저그래. 예왕 주사를. 어디 라기도.
Maybe we say, we think, why am I doing this? What's the use? What's the benefit of this? Then we might think, oh, my lama is so wonderful and precious. And, the blessings are so close. And the lineage is such a close lineage. And I got the empowerment. So I should really recite the mantra, get those blessings.
나타가랑 이 대바다 이제들로 하면 봐지 여나 나의 더 마시바이나 고 자치 못 찾으러 와.
So if we're not doing that with sort of for my own benefit, then it will become precious. It can become precious.
If you do with a great, strong faith and so on.
대인상 다 아주 시고야 돼 뺏기지 뭐 출발때 ngos해야 돼 뺏기지 뭐래자. 너도디 나 지금 저기 저기.
Nika yabudo. Nika de ropa chene yabudo.
그봐. 야.
이양켜서.
그봐.
tulba.
출발 ngos해야 돼 뺏기지 뭐.
It's very important to recognize confusion.
수수 이 미치는 마콤바기 내가 그래서 하고서 telada 니다바 맞을 내가 가르치고 그래. 간다 봐도 가르쳐요래. 내가 자체뭐 제요래. 그래? 이나야 내가 디제네 맞을 대화 같이 되기도. 셈라 디지. 셈라 초와 디지. 아니 셈라 동행 가르쳐야 되자.
So we think about all the different ways we can be not free, not have freedom. And so all work, our work in general, it's important. We consider our work important. We've done a lot of work too. We've done a lot of important work. But if we reflect back, what has been the outcome of all of that work? Has it really brought us happiness? How much suffering has it actually resulted in? If we look at it in that way, we'll be able to it's like introducing us to two kinds of suffering. One kind of suffering is like not having good conditions, not having supportive circumstances is one kind of suffering.
Then there's the problem and the difficulties that come when you have too many good conditions. They're equal in being suffering. They make you experience unpleasant feelings. So on the one hand, you've got something where you've got good conditions, but too many good conditions, and then it becomes something that actually turns against you and creates suffering for you.
니 마코가 안에 섬노 배 제당 되차 디모 트라도 사마직 뱀시칼레 카우도
So it causes you like all sorts of like you can't sleep well, your mind becomes unhappy. Well, yeah, different mental afflictions arising and so forth.
다 란사 야 대차 말로와 다 뇨모라야 안에 당진라야 시럽 트루발라야 되게 다지 레다 뇨모라야디 덴데 요왕이 중아래 야 렌데라야 될 로메바레샤 코르바 게 셴발로야라 코르비 니믹티 통고도
Yeah, so you begin to see that all of this comes because of the mental afflictions, ignorance, and so on, and you start to see so many difficulties that are arising. Really, it's because of karma and the mental afflictions. You begin to see in this way the drawbacks of being in cyclic existence.
야 란사 수 탄조 밀르르 무첸데 야와 야삼당
So then think well about having achieved this precious human life with all the leisures and endowments or leisures and advantages.
디기토네 아니 코르바텔레 님부칸 양매바 아니 추르 당진 랑진진게 추르네 콜로나지 코르네 아니 딜라 가르쳐르다 님부칸 양매바 동에 랑지 코나 임바지 하거나 데네 다 텔랑아 탄데지 다 텔리 탄나 데네 지마롱 다 텔리 탈거지 지고리 가르치 지고리 공부로
And so you start to see, that all this is happening because of the self-cherishing mind, because of ignorance, and so then that's the kind of like the nature of cyclic existence, which has no essence, which is just completely filled with suffering, and then you start to think, really, I must become free of this. I have to break free of this. And how am I going to do that?
딜라 탄드지 로지 레발라 코르바노나 시베 푼조텔라 작바타 심바디 마방와이나 데첸데 르당라데 다가지르와
So then if you don't see the faults then in the cyclic existence, I'm not quite sure about. If you don't see those faults, then you're never going to have that wish to be free of cyclic existence. And you won't be able to get let go of this life, your attachment to this life.
강들 남주도 가도 짜창보 진데서 시베 푼조 여러와
So anyway, this in any case, what we experience all the time in this life is this bounty of existence, bounty of samsara.
낭비취치디 어디 야보 말이 디고그 말이 디 육슈세고 말이
So it's not that, the Buddhist view is saying this is bad, this is terrible, we need to totally get rid of that. We're not saying that.
가이스나 디기 또그 담년달라 딜 때네 수부티 쳐야지도 배주치에 짬직 그래 텔라 착신스는 짐바 아티 중네 아니 베테 짜침보 지한데 너레스
Because we need these things to sustain our life, to sustain the body. We need clothes, we need food, we need, relationships, we need a reputation somehow. These are all things that we can just merely make use of to survive and to, to live with a body. The problem is the clinging, the real grasping, taking, fixation on it as being so important.
예송자 다 텔레 데스 동에서 하거나 다 제네 인중야 오지제네 다 타르바 줘야 돼 타라 두다 민두 타브라 톱주 여담매 디삼당고다.
And so if we can start to see all of that, the nature of suffering that is in all of that, then we can give rise to some renunciation. And then we have to think about the issue of liberation. Is liberation possible or not possible? We need to think about that.
타브라 톱주 매와 저우지체 땡아주 지 최면도 이나 아니다 아주 주보다 셈데 다가서 여봐 되니 매네 최면시바 나지 다 최면시나 다 매스로 낙숨 가야 여마르 봐. 데 나지나 지야메도 데레메도 양자 제와 링고도.
So if liberation is not possible, if liberation cannot be attained, then maybe it's chume is like a butter lamp going out, sort of like if death is just like a butter lamp going out, being extinguished, then and there's no liberation, then everything we do in this life, there's sort of no residue. We just it's just over. It just ends, kind of like death is like a butter lamp just going out. So if it's like that.
다 칼레 라마시니 덴즈 가네 아니 타르바 톱주요바 모트 아니 타르바 톰드기 로제 아니 치 죽다트로 왜 니지 근접이 최대 아니 딜란 짐바 체대야데 코랑기 모데 데니 가서 던담바 레용드 담바 마드바 던담바 아니 담바 마드바 라야데 당 근접이 최대니 지찌기 칼라 대니 여다바지 하호비 토네 데니 랑기 짐바 아티 낭추다 니추 마튠비 트르바디 ngochwe송아이나 아니 셈디 장보초라 아니 가르쳐는 줘야지 누바치 무지 차그러.
So then through meeting wise spiritual friends and lamas and teachers, we can start to understand that liberation is possible. Liberation exists. It is possible. We can also attain it. Also, we get introduced to the nature of phenomena, the phenomena of our experience, the forms we see, the sounds, the smells, and so on. We get introduced to what that nature is and how our fixation from our side doesn't match the actual reality of the phenomena of our experience. So they introduce us to the nature of confusion, how our perception is out of harmony with the basic reality. And so once we're introduced with that, then we start to gain some like honesty and capacity or power.
Then 수수기 검지 잡아이나 검지 검라나 검지 대야 다 검지 마보여로. 저디 아니 가족이 저디 동해 만들어 대wan 낭니 중앙성장 동해디 당지 마르바당 랑 진진기 소유여바데 하고로 하고소나 다 검데 지랑 진진당 당진라 너바지 검 잡나 되니 빠 사치모.
So then, if we engage in meditation, and here meditation means like following meditation instructions, because there's many different kinds of meditation. And so mainly we have to bear in mind that we don't want to suffer. We want to get rid of our suffering. We want to accomplish our own happiness and well-being. And in order to do that, we need to understand self-clinging. We need to understand self-cherishing. If we're able to understand that, if we can understand that, then our meditation, our practice, can actually have an effect on our self-clinging. It can reduce it. It can have an effect on our self-cherishing by reducing it. So that is a very, very important thing.
당진다 진진라 시라 만에바이나 대곰 같이 주릉보 같이 짜침보 잡아이나 대 낭바 인세야다 낭바 이직다 직 짜침보 지라데 걸레카오리 자로와 펜도 요 말소술라
펜도 이어데
펜도 이어레 이나양 빼숙침보 요 말에
맞습니다.
당진 진진 만에나 펜도 숙침보 요 말에 네나 숙침보 펜도 요래 야 너리요 인가서 라테스
맞습니다. So if our practice does not affect in the sense of diminishing our self-clinging and our self-cherishing, then however long we meditate, however much we meditate, however great, whatever great meditations we do, can we even really say that it's Buddhist practice? There may be, you say, well, is there any benefit? Yeah, there's some benefit, but not a lot of benefit. So to bring it into a concise form, if our practice diminishes our self-grasping and our self-cherishing, that's precious. That's important practice. If it does not diminish our self-cherishing, our self-grasping, it's not a precious and important practice.
남주가서 다 신이 고명당 다 항동 다 항들 지 검고주드는 당번에다 지 수수수를 줄로 가르치 인간이나 다 셈바데 타입이 심제 탐제를 끌는데 계시면서
So whatever kind of meditation that we want to engage in, perhaps it's shamatha, calm abiding, perhaps it's vipassana, insight meditation, when we're beginning our practice, even if we're practicing in an entirely different religious tradition, any kind of lineage or tradition, it's crucial in the beginning of our practice to, bring to mind limitless sentient beings.
되는 것은 닌제 유제사기 심전 탐지라 하마거나 따다 대서 말아봐 단전이 가와네 야고 산다 얘가와 된제와 체메다봐 되네 레전드 코르비님이 드즈디 아니 오늘 전에 소소 코르비님이 레전드 타르베페 드즈디 지 니마 전라 찍다 아니 따다다다다다 겁나 아니 뒤죽이 교가래야 뒤죽이 가래야 된디기 낭네 마트비지 아니 심제 참말로 닝제 전에서서 닝제 잡고지야 시에네 아니 닝제제야지 용거로 데니 참제 깔레카네 마보 삼노다니 깔레카나 아니 릴렉스 삼노 참말레 야
티기젤라 르샤
양 깔레카기 두나
라소. So then bringing to mind the object of compassion. The object of compassion is sentient beings. And so bringing that forward, establishing that object of our compassion, and then we meditate and we contemplate the freedoms and advantages of the precious human life, the fact that it is so hard to get, the fact that it has so much potential meaning, also the fact that life is impermanent, the time and manner of our death is totally unknown, the fact that karmic cause and effect is totally infallible and undeceiving, the fact that samsara is full of flaws and drawbacks, all of the downfalls of samsara. Contemplating these things, that the infallibility of cause and effect, the defects of samsara, the benefits of liberation. So, if we really do that, if we really contemplate that, even for like a few days, like a week, until strong compassion comes, it really should arise. Strong compassion should arise from that. And then from time to time, if our mind gets tired, tired or exhausted, then we just totally relax and don't think of anything.
So let's do some meditation so that when you go home, you'll have an idea of how to do this practice on a regular basis when you're alone and at home.
랑도리 네 신이지 류자ችን 보래샤 전에 가와당 공병안에 검색하셨어.
So let's spend some time thinking of the importance of these 8 freedoms and 10 advantages.
대양 된조지 류대를 붙인데 전체와 유두 되는 가서 가르주로 시비 분수 짬 줘야지 치도 많이 봐. 점닝지 전주기 있음 타입이 3년 탐지 동행이 들어와. 대화 중근들 로제와 되니 된리기 낭니 마트위 심제 아니 친하게 최 용수 줘봐. 니룩 타투 자무 동반이지 돼. 된리기 자체보게 공양이 탑다 넘바 용수 줘봐. 지글라 아니 가서로다 전체 니갑시 아니 수수 대화지 지우 용수 줘봐. 지 틈니 타투 아니 랑제 참말로라 아니 베메 흔죽게 대화 용수 줘봐들이 틈니데 아니 딘리기 따와 장부 친지 말로와다 쥐바 장부 친지 말로와기 자와지기는 애초에 땅와지 총화이나 아니 전체요.
And then think about the fact that when we have these freedoms and advantages of freedoms and endowments, then there's so much that we can accomplish with them. It's amazing what we can do with it. And when we recognize that, how meaningful it is to have these leisures and endowments, then making the decision, I'm not going to use this this opportunity just for the short-term pleasures for myself and the marvels of cyclic existence. I'm not going to use my time for that. I'm going to use it for the sake of all sentient beings. I'm going to use it for developing, meditating on, practicing loving kindness towards all sentient beings, wanting them to be happy. I'm going to cultivate compassion towards all sentient beings, wanting them to be free of suffering. I'm going to meditate on bodhicitta. I'm going to try to generate bodhicitta. I'm going to lead all sentient beings, use my time for developing and leading sentient beings to the insight into the emptiness of all phenomena, outer and inner phenomena, their ultimate nature, their true nature. And in this way, I will have really used this life, which is so very precious and so valuable.
kendigi tön cheba ni gawa yi samsusi inala yang da jobo ma cheba ina tambe chu chawa kang cheba ina ni kapta tatu pende cheshu tikala ane chawa zi matuba ina ane ni kap tese ji chawa zi droba dila pendo meba da nimbo meba tongbe to ne ngenjung cheba ji ni suyi nga ne ta chu chi gowa ta ju 다 최대양 지 특파 첨부 최 잔주기 쌤 자첨부 네 삼는 다음에 대양 개인지 맞수 쌤제 라야 되지 또그 담섬 가르치나 메시지야라 랑지고기 된달라 아니 메시지와 성장 랑지고기 된달라 쌤바 자충중 쌤바 부수 도보 아니 쌤바 신도 몽보 아 되게 쌤바 되게 띵네 아니 가서 되다 넘바 꾼들라 아니 마지와 코나 용대와당 만대와 코나 용대와 아니 대저 창말로와 셈바 부스 도보디기 제와 성장 랑저디 직 젠저디 타이베 초네 이나 삼노데 네 타이베 셈제 탕지지 된다라 아니 수수기 겐케 아니 수수기 자와지 주바이나 아니 셈데 아니 자첨부 랑징게 가지고 그 양보 나 자첨부도 잘 들어와.
So thinking about how precious this life is, how we can accomplish so much with it, and thinking about how difficult it is to get such a life, then making the decision to really do something valuable with this life, really meaningful with its life, which means not using it just for accomplishing short-term benefits. In other words, to be renounced, to cultivate renunciation and make up our minds. I must use this life, this time, this opportunity for practicing Dharma. And amongst the different types of Dharma or spiritual practice we can do, the Mahayana Dharma, I must use my time for that, because up until now, all I've done is invest my energies in getting food, clothing, a good reputation, just for myself. And all that's done is produce suffering, no happiness at all. It's made my mind. It's a way of thinking which is very narrow, very constricted, and brings nothing but suffering. And therefore, what I'm going to do, instead of thinking just myself, I'm going to think of all sentient beings. And I'm going to generate that mind which wants to benefit all sentient beings. And in this way, the mind becomes really open and vast.
태양 뉴턴 맞잖아. 아니 치바 메다와. 신네 진직된라. sana medabi rangji nang ju ji semje lang medabi rangji nang ju ji semje la de na medabi rangji ta ji ji hu da wo chang ba da cham ju la so ba ji tin ri ge ani ji da ba na medabi rangji chi ji ni me la sam de medawa ta nga zo pera ji na ne yam de ji de nga zo ta su ji gi yung ge re dang 직 나와서 기회 말아 된리기 내주행한 점블링 코랑 아니 지 지시 디시 매와 강의 수직이 아니 지 잡다 쬐방 건다 뽕님 매와 직에고 차르고로 된리기 치발로르바 레용드 가솔라 강강이 페마도니 미치 찍나랑 아주 또그 땀 냔다 안 사자베지 주너르 제베 아니 쭉 냠베 자 아니 짐베 로 가레 짜첨부지 여바 이나 메다바 로르레비 감니 치도이 갑라 아니 강이야 직 맞아 계약이 nim바메와 바오이 뽕메와 아니 젠보기 아니 젠육 체사메와 아니 제마이 죽도야메와 가양 아니지 짜침부 가져야나 펜바 들잠매와 메다바이 랑징나라 단다 끼직 욱 롱니기 산잠라 젠지 tre바이나 욱지 야테 욱지 말레네 니 야테 마듬나 코다 덴디 미다와 끼직지기 덴디신 드라이 자진직 차더러와 덴들라 때네 야 메다바이 랑징 지나차 마 메다바이 랑징이야 제네 텔라 때네 아니 담비추 뉴트르 보레 다 조포 마트바이나 나로 자타 마보데야 여나 다가 다네 아니 지로 납주 추줄라 다 지니 하마호나 이나야 다가로 마보데바 여자 아니 양제 줍초 야부치초 제한제 여러와 대네 가서 드링 제바이나 로 자이나네 시도하데 타주자래 대송장 메다비 랑징아 때네 최디 족포 줍 첸데 자침보 가레이나 르땅 라야디 자침보 만지버리마도 르땅 라니 육슈 세고 말아봐 라소
Thinking then about impermanence, thinking how everything, the whole world, is subject to change, is changing all the time. All sentient beings, we're all impermanent. We all have this impermanent nature. And so we're all in this situation to being like with no one to protect us or to guide us. And the whole world has been affected by this pandemic and so forth. So just using our time for clothing, food, acquiring wealth, and so on, which we think is so important. Actually, none of these has any essence. They're all subject to change. They're all changing all the time. And in fact, if we think about it in terms of our own lives, we breathe in. The fact of being alive is that we breathe in and then breathe out. We breathe in, we breathe out. One day, at a certain point, if we don't breathe in, that's it. Life is over. So recognizing again that all outer phenomena, the whole outside world, the inner world, they're all impermanent, and therefore I have to practice Dharma quickly. I really have to practice quickly, even if I have 100 years left. Like say, if we had 100 years, everybody in this room had 100 years left, then it looks like we have 20 years or 30 years or 40 years, whatever left, but still we need to recognize that that time is running out. So we have to practice Dharma, we have to practice as quickly as possible, and use this kind of insight to be able to make the decision to let go of all of those things which only have these short-term benefits. So it doesn't mean completely give them up totally. It's a question of having the attitude where you just see there's no essence in them. Yeah, thanks. So this something I missed out. I'm not quite sure where it fits in, but anyway, recognizing that, you know, so as far as our attitude is towards, you know, what do we call it, the clothing and food and wealth and so forth, there's nothing that you can take with you. When you die, you can't take anything with you, and this helps you again to see there's no essence in them, and that means that helps you to let go of them, so that you can practice Dharma more purely and more intensively.
Then medapala samnangane kom desjanarana.
So please meditate on emptiness a little. Sorry, I didn't mean to say emptiness. Emptiness, impermanence. Sorry.
Then the medaba rangji kichi la jigwi nitsungane ane chenbo jigwi nitsude simgi tingla 상에 젬바 있나? 아니 돈이기 더이기 과대기 말이데 아니 메다바 디기 띵네 아니 동반이 이봐 무슨 용에 속으로 끼직 주도위 정신당 끼직 메다바이 니중안에 단어 미대 단다 대여 말에 단다 끼직 nga이 메대 끼직 치마라 대여 말에 그 직도위 니주 직위 니주 참문데 가서기 공부지제 로들레 치니 공부지나 끼직 잠에 나라 아니 심데 요추 디기 직도야지 최전 대당 직사기 춘이 되니 pen 타니오시오 직당 아니 최 탐지 메다베 장신의 때네요 다 매봐 라야디 거랑 양행원에 초토해지 용사라 검접다
So if we meditate on momentary impermanence, the constant change that occurs every single moment, the subtle, constant, momentary change that can give rise to an experience, within the mind that, it's going towards the meaning of emptiness. It's leading us in that direction. If we keep going into impermanence, into subtle momentary impermanence, through that, we can come to see that things are, in fact, have the nature of emptiness. For example, this, the within the mind, the sense of self that is present in this moment will be gone in the next moment. The sense of self in the next moment is not the same as the sense of self in this moment. It arises in one moment and then it vanishes. It's gone. And so when we can look into that very subtle nature of vanishing, the subtle nature of being destroyed, how everything is ceasing, and we develop that sense in our meditation, then, we can understand how that is occurring in our mind, how that nature occurs in our mind. And then it's like the thing that's constantly vanishing or being destroyed, and the place that it vanishes into, which is the dharmata nature, are getting closer and closer to one another. The mind that is vanishing and the place that it vanishes, the dharmata nature, are getting closer and closer to each other. And then we can come to understand that things do not have inherent existence. The truth of the absence of self, the absence of an inherently existing self. So we can arrive there through this kind of meditation.
Jindo medawandi yang chik komyungdu tene perazina ngazu zambulingi simjen dizude ta chanjugi sim mi roa chikon rawar sam tawayna chanjugi sim zachimbo dindize yore ta ibe simjen la samno toya sim zachimbo dindra yore dindre che mashi rang chikpo yi tuanda toge yi tuanda shi droni 닝제 단다 시인 닝제 마음바 시주여와 닝제 대창말로 동에는 되고 말해 대화는 되그래 니가 템부기 대화직라 착제 세미 랑지네 대화다 템바 동에다 terwa 양지 자체와 셀지 또가와 던제 자체부지 아주 끌나 여러와 디마통 야군주 숨지 연대 마시 마심지라 닝지 마시네 랑지고 이 또요 된다라 다 시줘야다 닝제 랭인 디기 다 양절 제와지 랭고야나 타나 미기 주봉기 추름기 손남지 여바이나 아니 밀류 자침부직 도용그러워. 다 대점 매워지이나 다 쉐당 침병하니 녀와지야다. 아니 지 가지고로다 강다를 내송기 내드르데 아니 수수기 류가 이숨기 아니 몽뱅하니 랑지 끌라 내바지 양조기 드우디 아니 다 베테 동해네 동해라 나르데베기 낭수다 니추 드르게 마토니 심젠라 랑징게 쳔메다바기 차라 니추가네 고르 닝지 랑징직 대용거다 딩그로 심젠라
Really. Yes, sir. So, by meditating again and again on this topic of impermanence, this topic of constant change, then, and we think about all sentient beings, the bodhicitta motivation that is oriented towards limitless sentient beings, how vast and limitless a mind it is that is concerned and oriented towards all sentient beings. And if one does not have that, but just preoccupied with oneself, preoccupied with our own well-being, and then if one is to die with that preoccupation, or even in the future, if one is to die now with that kind of mind state, or maybe sometime in the future we pass away with that mind state of being preoccupied with just ourself. And so when we think about that, and we say, wow, how sad would that be? Because, again, all beings don't want to suffer. All beings want to be happy. However, towards what is totally temporary happiness, temporary pleasure, we get attached, we cling to it. And so, actually, although that is the case, with the actual nature of the mind is endowed with happiness and bliss. The nature of the mind is totally free of suffering. The nature of the mind is expansive light. And so, of course, this is difficult to directly realize. But we all have it. All of us have it. And yet we don't see it. And so, though we possess these qualities of the three jewels inherently, the fact that we don't see it, then we feel, oh, wow, how sad is that? Compassion comes. Though we have those qualities, being totally preoccupied and, concerned about ourself alone, our own food and clothes and reputation and so on, then we feel great compassion for that state, all of those beings. And, even, and then we have to just keep taking birth again and again, all beings. And if, we happen to have like a pure ethical conduct, the kind of conduct that gives up the 10 non-virtues, then maybe we can get precious human life again. But if we don't, if we give rise to anger and hatred and, jealousy and so on, then that could ripen fully as experience of one of the three lower realms. And then really we experience a lot of darkness in our body, speech, and mind. The fully ripened effect of that is just suffering on top of suffering. And so basically, towards all beings who don't see these things, don't go through the subtle momentary impermanence, we generate a lot of compassion.
대송자 다 ngazu chu jubu ma che na semida birangji rendo.
And therefore, if we don't quickly practice the Dharma, well, life is impermanent.
다 신의 양절 제와 랭고야디 단단 ngazu 초와 동에 만들어다 초와 대와 되니지 로 셈디 차르세네 되니 르심 카첸로드 디 셈디 로고야 지다 디 토네 니수식 시용고레스.
And then also we have to pass away. And this mind that we have now that doesn't want to suffer, that wants to be happy, it gets more and more and more subtler and subtler. And then there comes the time where the mind separates from the body. And then the mind has to keep going. So we also need to know about that.
레전드 라야데다 루바메바데 그 띵중기 니중간에 조젠 체용도 ngazo 지레 장보이나 조젠 체용도 레여데바 레 녜바이나 조젠 체용도 레라야다 레라야데 제와 체코 마바니 레직 사데바 찍여 양 단다사 야 가서 사 진득이 레 사바사 사주여데바 텐데기 레데저 가르스 용그레 슬라나 단다랑 맞아 미치나라 초바나라 맞아 이게 초바 대화다 초바 동에 릭티소데 한직 상말로 주진을 떼는 용돼야지 주미 찜에 마인바 주튼 겐도 마인바 따딜라 레라 차이 잡으지 채야지 개체모레도 레전드 다 레전드 내 순간에 다 수수 예벌털라다 레 장부지 마사와이나 레 녜바기 녜송 숨다 락벌돌라다 가르주고로 로아레 죽제니 카라제는 제와이나 다 동일레 맞춰버리샤 다 타르바트니 델레 타르바지 탑스요나 다 디치 거기도 다 델레 타르바 탑제발라 아니 다 난기 심 타르바 되니지 로 제사디 유 동행 드즈디 아니지 가르주고로다 동행레 텐드지 로즈 제 거야 직체 타르바는 거즈 우리들나 랑기 심이 랑지 당지 마릭바디 다 아니지 대당 아니 똑바타디라고 말해 다음에 똑비 시럽 비니중간에 다음 메비 똑비 시럽딜라 다음 메비 니주대인간에 타르바 닥트 짐비 마릭바이 니중간에 걸어와 산삼 디기 띵네 아니 스미기 다 가져오는 거지 옴 라와이나 냠레 라와이나다 스미 칼다 데미아디 케치모레도 다 드링 드가즈자 라와 다 메빈 진수이 니중간에 타르바 그리유메 아니 가지고로 왔다 스미 랑진디 지난게 추 랑지 니룩 통소나 타르바 데 마동이나 아니 걸어와 디기 니스데 아니 사니주 라
Then there's also the topic of karmic cause and effect, and how everything functions according to interdependence, dependent origination between causes, conditions, and their results, the infallibility, the undeceiving reliability of karmic cause and effect. How, meeting with the right, the wrong conditions, we generate negative karma. When the positive conditions come together, we generate positive, virtuous karma. And how how the relationship between the causes and conditions and their results is unfailing, is reliable and trustworthy. And how karma is something that we've been accumulating from countless lifetimes in samsara. Until now, we carry that, those imprints, those residues. And now we continue to create new karma, now also, all the time. So then looking at our life, this life that we have now, what experience of happiness we have, and whatever experience of suffering we have, all of that comes from causes and conditions. All of that is the fruition of some kind of causality or karma. It doesn't just come from nothing, from no causality at all. It comes from causes and conditions. And so then it is very important that we come to understand the subtleties of karmic causality, of the principle of interdependent karmic causality. It's so important that we come to understand that. And then, we understand if there's positive karma, there's also negative karma. These forces propel us all over samsara, all different kinds of realms and experiences, wherever we might end up. Whatever situation we're in, if there is a method that leads to liberation, we want to do it. There arises the wish to do that method. And so that can give rise to, the mind that longs for liberation, the mind that yearns for freedom. And along with that, the mind that wants to be free of suffering, the mind that wishes to be free of suffering. And so in that spirit, we come then down to the key point of self-grasping, the ignorance of self-grasping on the one hand, and the particular prajna or particular insight into the absence of self. The wisdom that realizes the absence of self, and then we have self-grasping, ignorant self-grasping. And so to put it in very brief form, if there is the wisdom that realizes the absence of self, then liberation is right there. If we don't, then there's self-grasping. And then samsara is right there. And so, to put it in brief, if we can give up clinging to the notion of self, if we can see through the existence of self and give rise to the prajna, the insight that knows, that realizes the absence of self, then there's liberation. That is also connected to the nature of the mind, the nature of all outer phenomena and inner phenomena. If that is seen, there is liberation. If that is not seen, there is samsara. So, in any case, that'll conclude our discussion for today, and we can talk more about the nature of all of that tomorrow.
Sajabeki Joshime Tam Vera Nyende Inge Pate Sangye Jendo Mete Wai Rake Nama Dai Shi Na Jo So this is a long life prayer for Khandro-la, and we'll, sometimes we'll be doing these prayers in Tibetan, sometimes in English. So today Tibetan. Dame zuzun gawe zepa je jetsun drama gini shapten zu tuji lungi drupa suwade kange zinyi zeba sumla ga Khandro donya re janju top mela jola de jin chugute Roze ma tashi tsere ma kuze yende juje langi tru sawa deso jingi laptu se daja namgi nine sawa te Yindu e zaga kanju sem Khandro drame jingi lavate Sorin Samo Lingi Tijin Shugyu Guran Jola Ze Khandro Bumgi Zomo Yundu Ten Tuji Lungi Troba Suwate Daja Dronam Zera Tomene Demo Tenzin Jenra Jenwa Tena damji demba zune ni tawa goe tonya yatna damji domba towe shera cho nemre cho yundin Tuje lungi droba sawa de lenye gishin Roano Jizandoa Gaya Senda Inje Jege Jizenda Meama Lama Be Sanyo Damba Jo Guzi Yundin Guzi Lungi Tru Daja Gube Ine Sawate Yaba Benjin Bala Jin Bama Junne Gigi Jingila Yamo Gigi Shito Zebe Amju Jini Me Vazeshin Samni Gunla Yaba Kandichi Dejin Rozi Yiji Soye Guzi Yundin Joshi Gitu Dawa Dipso Chingi Laptus Tomin Dala Chingi Kyan Tonya Yina Yan Shogun Chezun Dama Givi Chezete Yodu Kushi Sala Guru Janjo Zemjo Rempo
che Magye Pana Kye Chi Yewa Yamba Beba Kone Kone Tabarajo Jiten Kamde Pende Malu Pa Kande Joe Zambe Ishina Kande Zume Tizi Gyatso Kuzi Tenji Tuji Lundu Jo Tanye Nije Chupe Lam Jeje Seze Jana Bimo Tenzi Gyatso So Tezo Chet Lundu Jamba Pao
Chidara Jambal
Kunda Zambo Te
Dam
Da Kuki Jesa Dambo Ji Gyawa Tita Tamji Rabdu Tuzum Shepe Gyawa Tamji Moa Kala Chotu Tari Sawa Tikya Zambo Chuchi Ratu Moa Dumbaga Yerato Lozanga Vaya Gyuba Che Rajan Shingi Ya Yu Madu Pa Den Pa Dro Bengele Ya Zo Zo Be To Den Po Che Che Dan Dro Be Ze Jin Ba Na Yang Me Jo Se Be Go Ja Che So Me Je Su La Se De Ben De Ma Du Jo Me Go Je Go Yahweh Tena Ma Yo Ro Tena Chitu Tsuba Tebe Mo Lo Mo Jiwa Chete Yere Pa And I just Yasenangi Toge Raboje Emeteme Yantu Sabeto Gaza Duje Betu Yoje. Guru, think of me. Guru, consider me. Most gracious root Guru, care for me. Most gracious root Guru, do not deprive us of your compassionate refuge. Listen and consider this heartfelt prayer made by a tormented disciple. Guru, embodiment of the Buddhas of the three times, please bless me. You may rest in all-pervading great bliss, equipoised within the dhatu of unimpeded luminosity, yet the playful dance of your loving compassion emanates in myriad ways. The time has come for the return of the swift appearance of your magical wisdom, the Rupakaya, and for you to care for us once again with your affectionate compassion. Arise, arise, arise from the Dharmakaya. I invoke you, I call upon you, I implore you on behalf of all beings. Do not rest in Kechara or other pure realms. Rather, to benefit the Buddha's teachings and all living beings, swiftly return to this southern continent to spread the Buddha Dharma of study and realization. Quickly return to guide us, all wretched beings. Such is the desperate cry of us, your disciples. Return so that we may actually behold you. Receive the blessings of your body, speech, and mind. All violations, errors, mistakes, and broken samaya that we have made in relation to your body, speech, mind, and spontaneous activity, confused and perceiving things in erroneous ways, we confess within the luminous emptiness of your three kayas. Of everything auspicious, the supreme auspiciousness. May there be the auspiciousness of emptiness and compassion. May there be the auspiciousness of a timely meeting between master and disciples through the force of the truth of unchanging suchness. May the unmistaken incarnation return quickly. This lament was made by me at the keening with pure faith and samaya, her eyes filled with tears of sorrow. May these wishes of a beggar woman be fulfilled through the blessings of the deities of the three roots. Perception is object and the perceiver all dissolve within the expanse, the blissful clarity of suchness. Ah.
Thank you.
If everyone could just hang out for 5 minutes, I just have a couple of important announcements about the schedule tomorrow. So from Khandro-la's request, we're going to extend the lunch break a little bit for her. So we're going to start teachings tomorrow morning at 10:15, and then we're going to come back from lunch at 2:15. So please get here a little bit earlier tomorrow. That will be the standard schedule for the rest of the retreat. For the morning of the initiation, that will be a 10:30 start again. So yeah, and if you are needing a shuttle to get down the hill to get to the bus to take you back to your car, the van is parked over by the little tent. So please make your way over there and we'll get you down to the shuttle bus. So yeah, thanks so much, everyone. Have a nice evening. Oh, and food. We have extra food that was left over from lunch. So if you want to grab some at the food table on your way home, feel free to grab some. Sorry, everyone. One last quick announcement. The last shuttle will be leaving LMB tonight at 6:15. If you miss it, we have no way to get you off the land. So please make sure you are definitely on that last bus. Yeah, I've got it on. I've got it here.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
thinking.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
completely
great.
forgot.
Yeah, no problem.